Hi guys, Mr. Y here, obviously. Here to talk today about practice rule number 2. Always, always, always check your key signature. Yes, it's so important that I say it 3 times. Okay? What is a key signature? At the very beginning of a staff of music, even before the time signature or any notes, you're going to find a certain number of sharps or a certain number of flats. You're never going to find both, by the way. It's never going to be sharps and flats. It's going to be sharps or flats. Or you could have what I call the neutral key signature. There's no sharps or no flats. Okay, the key of C, that is, C major. If you don't see any sharps or flats, that does not mean there's no key signature. That means you have kind of the invisible key signature. Or if you want to call it the organic, all natural key signature, that's okay. That might be a way to think about it in today's terms. So when you first look at a piece of music, like I said, even before the time signature, you're going to have a number of sharps or a number of flats. Now they do come in a certain order, and if you know the super secret shortcut, you can use the super secret shortcut. I'm going to be doing another video on that, so I'm not going to really talk about it now. Even if you don't know the super secret shortcut, you'll be able to figure out what sharps or flats they are, because you guys all remember the 5 lines of the staff, of course, and we have, treble clef, empty garbage before dad flips, and the spaces are F-A-C-E. Bass clef, of course, G, B, D, F, A. Great big dogs fight a lot, some people use. And the bass clef spaces is all cows eat grass or all cars eat gas, depending on what you want to do. I don't care what mnemonic you use. In fact, sometimes I think the sillier it is, the better it is. You can remember it better. But you're going to be able to see what sharps or flats are there depending on what it is. Okay, you're going to have to go through and figure it out, of course, at first, until you know the super secret shortcut, which later. But once you figure out what flats or sharps are in a song, you can also go through and figure out what key the song is in. What I mean by that is what scale the song is based on. Okay. For now, we're going to assume it's a major scale, because later on it gets a little more complicated when there's minor scales and Dorian scales and other modal kind of scales. But right now you can just assume it's a major kind of scale. And if you look at your key signature and you figure out, hey, wait a minute, that's the G scale. That's got an F sharp in it. I know that's the G scale. The first thing you really should do after you've figured out what scale you're based on, what key you're in, is you should play that scale to get kind of your fingers in the right gear. So if you're a sax player, for instance, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Oh yeah, there's an F sharp there. I better remember that as I play the song. All the way through the entire song, it's going to be F sharp. Unless there's a part where the composer wants an F natural, and then they have to write a natural on that, okay, if they've written F sharp in the key signature, for instance. So you're going to go through and figure out what scale you're based on and play that scale. Then, second thing you're going to do is when you first sight read a piece of music, play it super slow motion, just to get it really good. If you play it right the first time, even if it's really, really slow, it's easier to make it go faster up to speed later on. Okay, if you play it wrong the first time, and if you play it wrong and with the wrong key signature a couple times, your brain's going to start to think, oh, that sounds right. And then later on, it's harder to correct it and go back and do the right thing. Okay, it's I think about 10 times as hard if you learn it wrong the first time. Okay, the part of our brain that has to do with right and wrong does not have anything to do with the part of our brain that deals with repetition. So if you do something wrong a whole lot, you're just going to get good at doing it wrong. That old practice makes perfect thing doesn't really work unless you practice perfectly. Or some people I know have said practice makes permanent too, or practice makes progress, I've heard. Okay, so there's many different ways to think about it. But don't practice something wrong. You're just going to get better at playing it wrong. That's all. Okay, so once you figure out what flats and sharps you are, like I said, you're going to play through the entire song really super slow motion. What key signatures am I going to encounter as a middle school instrumentalist? Well, if you're playing a concert pitch instrument, flute, oboe, euphonium, trombone, you're generally going to have flats in your key signature, usually either 1, 2, or 3 flats, B flat, or B flat and E flat, or B flat, E flat, A flat. Again, you're kind of seeing the super secret shortcut here, right? If you're playing a B-flat instrument, trumpets, clarinets, bass clarinets, and tenor sax, you guys are going to usually either have a neutral key signature, no flats or no sharps, or you're going to have either 1 sharp, F sharp, or 1 flat, B flat, okay, in your key signature. Those are the 3 most basic ones. You do get others, of course. Horns, you guys are generally either going to be 1 flat or the neutral key signature, no flats, no sharps, or 2 flats you guys sometimes have too, B flat and E flat. Alto saxes, baritone saxes, you're a little different. You generally have either 1 sharp, F sharp, or a neutral key signature, no flats and no sharps, or 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. You guys are kind of on the more sharp end of the spectrum there. So when you do figure out what scale you're based in, guys, go ahead and play the scale. Get your fingers kind of in the right gear. Look at the road map before you walk to your friend's house. That's what you really want to do here. Really, really important that you do that. Like I said, about 50% of the errors I hear in middle school band, I think, are just from ignorance of the key signature. And it's right there, literally in black and white, right in front of you. You can tell it all the way through. If you have trouble with it at first, you could figure out what's in your key signature, sharp wise and flat wise, and go through and mark them in the actual part if you want to. Okay, that's kind of the training wheels way to do it, but that's okay. You can do that at first if you want to. We all needed training wheels at some point, right? After you get really good at it, you won't have to do that anymore. Remember, the reason they did this back in the old days was they had to write all this music out by hand. So if you had 47 F sharps in the song, and you could save yourself a lot of trouble just by writing the 1 sharp on the F line right at the very beginning of the song, that really saved you a lot of work. Okay, nowadays with computers, of course, it doesn't matter too much, but we do need to be able to be conversant in how that works. That's part of being musically literate, knowing how to read that part, even though it's an old way of doing things. Okay, good luck with it. Thanks.